Hi and welcome to the 5-Minute Business Boost, where you get to choose your 5-minute investment. I'm your host, Sam Hicks, and I'll be discussing topics under the headings of business development, marketing, photography, and much more. Welcome to the 5-Minute Business Boost. This week I'm talking to you about clay to customers, 5 stages every small business should know. Now, I still remember standing in my garage at 18, covered in slip-cast clay. Don't do the maths, people. Staring at a row of uneven ceramic mugs and shapes. Back then, product development meant guessing which shape, clay or glaze people might like and hoping someone would buy that item at the next market or even as a piece of greenware or raw unfired clay in the next decorating class. And closer to Christmas, clients would start saying things like, thinking about a ceramic Christmas tree or a cookie jar. Do you have those red poinsettia decals? And do you have any liquid gold in stock? Anywho, fast forward a few years, and I find myself in tourism, visitor services and regional marketing, to be precise. And again, I'm listening to visitors tell me what they wish existed. It'd be really great to do a twilight walking tour, a hands-on local meet the maker type workshop. What about behind the scenes experiences that let me feel like an insider, just not a tourist? So those were the days, but you'll see there is a listening and observation phase there. Now, in both instances, I didn't have big budgets. Well, we sort of did in the old Marysville Lake Mountain days. Or I didn't have a corporate marketing team. But what I did have was customers and visitors from those times whose comments were quietly pointing, suggesting new product or an experience opportunity every single day. Now, only later, while deep in my MBA studies, did I discover what I had been doing in that garage in those tourism roles. All of that had a name and a framework. So, Professor C. Merle Crawford and C. Benedetto had spent decades mapping this out in their classic texts, new products management books. Now, these books are widely used in marketing innovation courses around the world. And I recently picked this book up again out of my collection, and this one is the 11th edition. And I got to thinking as I was scanning through the pages and reading a couple of chapters, we learn off the academics. A lot of the times in my podcasts, I talk about how we can learn off the big brands, but we learn off the academics, the ones that are out there teaching, seeing, observing. Now, in this case, and this is the part I love the most, they talk about the 5 phases that they describe aren't just for large firms and global brands. I think they're incredibly useful for us micro and small business owners, especially the ones that are juggling stock, staff, socials, and school pickup. They just want to move from random idea to a repeatable way of creating, testing, and launching new offers or new products, whatever. In this episode, I'm going to translate their 5 phases, not phrases, their 5 phases into everyday language so that the mum and dad owners out there and the small business owners like myself can just crunch through it quite quickly. So, number 1 is overview and opportunity identification. The second phase is concept generation. The third one is concept and product or project evaluation. Development, so this is around marketing and technical tasks. And of course, the exciting one is launch, which is 5. So my aim is simple through this podcast. By the end, you should have a practical lens that you can apply to anything from a new menu item or a workshop to a tourism experience or an online product without needing to wade through a textbook first. Phase 1, overview and opportunity identification. So this is really about seeing those gaps and then filling them, or maybe seeing the gaps before you fill them. In New Products Management, the book, Part 1 focuses on an overview and opportunity identification or selection. So this is really about setting clear strategic direction. Excuse me, I'm having a cup of tea. And then choosing which opportunities are worth your limited time, money, and energy. Now, for a small business, this starts with a very simple question. This is around what kind of business am I building and who am I actually serving? It's right up there with what problem do you solve? Now, when I was working in tourism, we could have launched any number of new tours. But the experiences that worked the best were the ones aligned with the strategy at the time. And this was showcasing local stories, respecting the environment, and giving visitors genuine connection with place. I can remember a very simple project that got off the ground, and that was having one of our local ambassadors, Bob, travel around Marysville on a bus. And he would talk about the history of Marysville, the history of all the beautiful old buildings. And this was pre-fires, but he would talk about Marylands and the country homes that were there that had generational stories. So this really aligned because it showcased the local stories. It respected the environment, talking about the walks and the waterfalls. And it really gave visitors a genuine connection with the place through his tours. But this is how you can use this phase in your business. Start with your strategy, not with a shiny idea, because I know when you're creative, you just want to go, ooh, shiny, and disappear off and work on something new. You need to have that discussion with you. Are you building a premium brand, a high volume budget friendly offering, or something focused on deep community connection? You need to listen for those opportunities, hiding in conversations. You need to review customer feedbacks and complaints, repeated questions, and I wish somebody would style comments. These are gold for spotting unmet needs. Scan your environment. You need to have a look around what's happening. In tourism, that might be changes in visitor demographics, new flight routes, or regional events. It might be the retail difficulties we're having at the moment, where retail is such a changing environment. In a cafe or creative business, it might be local housing growth, might be new workplaces in your suburb, or rising interest in certain cuisines or hobbies. You have to put your ear to the ground, people. Have a listen to what your community is telling you. So at this stage, you're not designing the product yet. You're choosing which problems and possibilities deserve a closer look and which ones don't fit your strategy, even if they're tempting. A simple prompt you could ask yourself this week is, what are 3 frustrations my customers keep bumping into that I'm currently ignoring? Phase number 2, this is around concept generation, and this is turning those raw observations into potential offers. Once Crawford and Benedetto had you looking at these opportunities, the next phase they outline is that whole thing around generating the concept. So this is where organizations brainstorm and actually shape actual product or service concepts that could address the opportunities identified. So concept generation sounds really fancy schmancy, but in a small business, it often looks like this. You notice visitors are always asking, is there a sunset tour? You hear locals say, I'd love to learn how to photograph my own products. You see families struggle to find quick, healthy dinner options after a sports training. So each of those observations in isolation could become a concept. Twilight coastal stories or a twilight forest walk, walking tours. Have a think about what the opportunity is. Smartphone product photography for makers could be makings of a mini workshop. Heat and serve family packs for busy weeknights. So to use this phase well, you need to treat the idea generation as a regular habit, not once a year brainstorm. You need to keep a running list on your phone, in a notebook, in your workspace, or a shared document if you have a team. Wherever you keep your ideas, this is where you need to park them for the minute. To also use this phase, you need to mix what customers want in with what you can actually deliver. So this is around your skills, equipment, partnerships, and a space where it all shapes together and where concepts like this can become realistic. You need to give yourself permission to be imperfect and imaginative. At this stage, nobody's buying anything. You put no money on the table, so you're allowed to play. You're allowed to be creative, people. If you want to write it down on the back of a serviette or a napkin or a piece of paper, do it. If you want to talk into your phone, talk about the idea and flesh it out and verbalize it, do it. Tourism, try listing 5 types of visitors that you see.
Hypothetically, families, solo travellers, retirees, creatives, foodies, and jot one possible experience concept for each. If you're running a ceramic studio or a creative business, think about different skill levels, time commitments, and price points your customers might enjoy. The goal isn't to fall in love with one idea. It's to create a menu of possible concepts that can serve your strategy and your customers. Now, phase 3, concept and product evaluation. So this is really people about putting the brakes on for a minute and having a bit of a reality check before you spend any money or time. So phase 3 in the process is around concept and project evaluation. This is the set of reality checks that help you decide which concepts deserve full development. In big organisations, this includes a detailed concept testing, might even be financial analysis, a breakdown of what it's going to cost, and a portfolio decision or 3. In micro or small businesses, we simplify this simply into 3 tests. Really easy. Number 1, the customer test. Would they actually buy this? You need to talk to your real clients and customers, and you need to ask them if they'd even be remotely interested. What would they pay, and what would make it a yes instead of a maybe? Number 2, crunch the numbers, people. This is the numbers test. Could this be financially viable? Do a rough calculation. Estimate your costs, time, materials, and marketing against realistic sales and pricing to see if there's going to be enough margin. Talk to your accountant people. Talk to other people that might be doing similar in another sector or in another state. Run some figures. Number 3, the fit test. Does this suit my brand, the capacity and lifestyle that I've got at the moment? Now, you need to be really honest about whether or not this idea requires hours you don't have, skills you don't want to develop, or a level of stress you've already promised yourself you would avoid. Get back to your strategy, people. Get back to your strategy. So when I've worked with tourism operators, this has often been the phase that prevents burnout. A great sounding experience might tick all the customer boxes, but fail the capacity test. Perhaps it would keep you away from family every weekend or on the days that you've nominated to be closed, or require a second vehicle that you don't actually own yet. You can make this very practical with a simple traffic light approach, and this is really cool. So green, we all know what that means. This would be strong interest, numbers look viable, and it fits in with your brand and your lifestyle. You can move that then to development. Amber. Now, this is where it might have some interest or viability, but something's off. You keep having that gut instinct that it's just not quite right. So this is your opportunity to adjust it or park for later. Sometimes the best ideas are ones that have been worked on a couple of years before, and then all of a sudden everything falls into place and off it goes. And of course, red at the traffic light would be low interest, poor numbers, or a clear misfit. And people, you need to frozen it and let it go. If you're the kind of business owner with a notebook full of ideas, this phase is going to be your new best friend. It's going to help you choose 1 or 2 concepts to progress now and lets you safely say not yet or no to the rest. Phase number 4. So, in the Crawford and Benedetto framework, this one is the development phase. So this is about turning or transforming promising concept into something real or tangible. So whether it be a product or a service, and it gives you the time to breathe and do some testing of it before the launch. So unfortunately, this is the phase, people, where you've got to roll your sleeves up. You're going to design that customer journey from the first time they hear about the offer through booking or purchase to delivery and follow-up. What does each step look like? What does it feel like? You need to define the offer clearly. That's the second part of this. So you need to work out what's included, what's excluded, how long it runs, how many people you can serve, and what support they'll actually get. Number 3 in this little part where you're rolling your sleeves up is really around building a prototype. In tourism, that might be a beta version of a tour with a small group. In ceramics, it could be a limited run collection or a pilot workshop. In hospitality, it might be a short trial of a new menu item or a pre-order system. Crucially, development should include testing with real people, not just your own preferences. So this is where you get to invite a handful of, say, trusted customers or peers to experience the prototype. Now, don't get Auntie Bessie May. Don't get the favourite sister people. You need trusted customers, and you need to encourage them or your peers to be brutally honest. Excuse me. You need to ask specific questions. What worked well? What confused you? Did it feel clunky? What surprised you? In a good way. You need to listen carefully, and you need to be ready to tweak the format, the timing, price, and even the name. Because sometimes you come up with the best names, people, and then you look at it a couple of days later and you think, oh, that gives me the ick, or that's a bit cringy. When I've helped small tourism operators test new experiences, we've often discovered subtle but important things. Tour times may not work with public transport, if you've got public transport, that is. Descriptions may be confusing to international visitors or people who don't have English as a first language. Or there might be segments or components that run too long and leave people tired rather than delighted and energised. Development phase is your chance to fix those issues while the stakes are still quite low. It's about getting the product good enough, not perfect, but good enough before you invest in a bigger launch. So speaking of launch, people, phase 5, this is about giving your new product the best possible start. So this is really about planning and executing how your new product enters the market and then managing it once it's live. So large organisations might coordinate national campaigns, complex pricing strategies and long timelines. But hey, in small business, we might be strategic, but it's going to be simpler and it's going to be more focused. So think of the launch as a small, intentional campaign, not just one social post. So choose a clear launch window. For example, we're trialling this new coastal sunset experience over the next 6 weeks. Or pre-orders for our winter family meal packs are open for the next 10 days. You need to craft a simple, consistent message. Clearly state who the product is for, what problem it solves, and what outcome they'll get. You need to use the channels that your customers actually watch and engage with. So this might be your email list, Instagram, Facebook, local community groups, your website, or even physical signage and conversation in store if you're in bricks and mortar. But you need to decide in advance what that success is going to look like. Is it a certain number of bookings, repeat or positive reviews, or a new type of customer discovering you? Then once that product is live, pay attention to the questions and the objections, or even that niggling feeling that things aren't right, because these are clues for improving your messaging or refining the offer. And be willing to adjust. You're not going to get it right on the first time, people. Just, go with it. But if you're willing to adjust, you might need to just tweak dates, duration, inclusions, or price based on those real-world behaviours that are coming back to you. That feedback and the complaints, or people just saying, oh, God, this would have been really good if you added in an extra bottle of wine or a loaf of bread. So launch is not the finish line. It's the start of the product's real life. And the more you treat it as an ongoing learning process, the more sustainable and profitable your new offers can become. So how do we bring it all together? So this is about where I actually appreciate most, I think, the work that Crawford and Benedetto did is that they didn't treat new products as random creative bursts. They sort of treat them as part of a process. And there are 5 phases, overview and opportunity identification, that concept generation, concept and project evaluation, development, and then finally launch. Actually gives you a bit of a structure that you can reuse over and over again. You don't have to adopt every academic detail, but you could absolutely borrow the skeleton of this and make it fit your local cafe, maker studio, tourism business, or online service here in Australia. And if you'd like a practical next step, here's a very simple exercise. Choose one task. Mucked that up. Choose one practical step. Here we go. Choose one idea. That's what I'm trying to say. Can't even say it. So you're going to choose one idea that's been sitting in your notebook or bouncing around in your brain, and you're going to ask yourself about these 5 phases. What opportunity is this really addressing? What is the clearest version of the concept? Does it pass my customer numbers and fit tests? And what prototype, what draft can I run in the next couple of months? And how could I give that prototype or that concept a simple, focused launch? Now, I've got a challenge for you. So this, hopefully you can do under 5 minutes. If you'd like a practical next step, here's a simple exercise for this week. I need you to choose one idea that's been sitting in your notebook or bouncing around in your brain, and I need you to ask yourself, which opportunity is this really addressing? So this is phase 1, of course. What is the clearest version of the concept? Phase 2. Does it pass my customer numbers and fit test? Phase 3. And what prototype could I run in the next month? This is phase 4. And how would I give that prototype a simple, focused launch? Phase 5. Now, remember, you don't have to transform your whole business overnight. This is around businesses getting the best results, okay, because you've got to keep staying curious, experiment, and keep learning. So that is your 5-minute business boost challenge for this week. Just pick one thing, run it through those phases, and see what happens. Until next time, keep learning, keep experimenting, keep growing your business.
Thanks for listening to the 5-Minute Business Boost. For more information, follow me on socials, sign up for my newsy, or check out my website to see how we can work together to reach your small business goals. Remember, anything is possible, especially in the northeast of Victoria. Until next time, cheerio!